I did it, guys. I finally bought my tank that I've been looking at over at Tiny Aquatics, and I bought it over the weekend, and I'm finally getting to planning it up, and my tank and my dream fish are about to happen. So the fish that I would like to put in here are pea puffers. So I absolutely adore these little fish. Every time I go over to Tiny Aquatics or any pet store, I always go right for the pea puffers, mainly because they're just such an interactive and sweet little fish, very inquisitive, very intelligent little fish. And as soon as you put your hand there, they're just like little water puppies, and they're just absolutely adorable. And I'm looking forward to getting a nice little colony of them in here. And I wanted to take you along as far as completely setting this up from the start, from scratch. And I think that it'll be a fun little journey. This will be yet another tank, so I am a little bit definitely getting into the multiple tank syndrome. Every tank that I have is so different and has a different vibe. Definitely not, like, you would never want to put a pea puffer in a tank like this. These are small little rasboras, and they just would be along the edge of a river, where pea puffers are more like up and down and all around kind of fish. So it wouldn't really work as good. And even if you put these fish in a tank like this, they're probably gonna hang out in the bottom where they're more used to being in nature. So it's been fun to learn about the habitats of all the fish, the ones that I'm interested in, and trying to establish a habitat in a glass box, essentially, that will replicate where they come from naturally. So that in itself has been a really fun adventure, and something that I really enjoy doing. And I can incorporate all my plants into it. And I'm enjoying, like, this cabinet I bought, and I really thought it would be a gorgeous gallery type cabinet. I love the color. It's a vintage piece a lady repainted, and there's lots of scratches on the top, which I kind of expect there to be a lot more scratches, so I don't have to worry about it getting messed up and me making those first boo-boos. So one of the first things I'm gonna do is just kind of wipe this down a little bit with just some plain water. I know you can use different things. I think you can use vinegar and water, but I'm just gonna give it a little wipe down just because it's been sitting in the fish store and it is a little dusty. And I know that that'll all settle at the bottom, and I'm gonna put more dirt, but just to get a nice fresh start, get all whatever is in there, all the impurities and dust and things, give us the best possible start. Takes just a few seconds, so no biggie. And of course, I'm gonna wipe the outside down, but that's gonna get so wet and messy. We'll worry about all that later on. But just kind of a general nice wipe down. This is the largest tank I've ever owned. Well, recently. So when I was a teenager, I used to have fish tanks. I had a lot of saltwater tanks. I even had an octopus, but the octopus got out of the tank. Fun story. And my parents called me. I was at college, and I had to come home and get the octopus. And when I grabbed him and put him back into the tank, he inked and killed everything. And my parents were not very happy with me at the time, rightfully so. And I ended up just taking the whole tank down because I really wasn't there to take care of it. And they were not really happy about me just leaving a fish tank at the house while I was at college, which was really only, it was in town, but it was just the fact that, yeah, I wasn't there to care for it. But after the octopus incident, I I think that was a good time for me to bow out. You know, I wasn't going to replace all that because it was quite a bit of money, and saltwater tanks can get quite expensive. So that's my octopus story. But here I am again, doing these little aquascapes, and they didn't have half the supplies that they have now. Yeah, I don't even know. They would just sell you whatever. I mean, there was very little. We had little fluorescent lights that pressed on, and the light would flicker on and then it would come on. It was really pretty, but this is definitely, these aquascapes are a lot more creative. And I think you'll probably find a lot of people that do this have a bit of an artistic side to them, because you can really set these up and be very creative and be much more artistic. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is adding some of this aqua soil. All of the products that I'm using today are the UN systems, and that's just because they sell mostly that at Tiny Aquatics, and I do really like their products, so I'm not sorry about that. And I don't even know if this is going to be enough, but I'm going to probably put most of it towards the back and the middle so I can plant things into it, or at least have the option, because I'm not even 100% I'm going to put things inside of the gravel substrate, but I want to go ahead and put this in case I do change my mind later. So there's that. Okay, so I do have a very large piece of wood that I want to use in here. I'm thinking I should probably put that in first. So let me go grab that, and then that'll give me a better idea of where I want to put my aqua soil. And then the forefront, I just kind of want it to be a simple gravel, because I want it to be more like a focal point of the driftwood. You'll see. All right, guys, this is the piece of driftwood that I've been holding on to. It's actually a part of a grapevine. It was a feature I used to do for restaurants, or did for a particular restaurant, and there were lots of like tillandsias and bromeliads attached. It was very sculptural and beautiful, and you can see just how pretty this piece is. And the nice thing is that it's got a flat bottom. Now my dilemma is, do I face this part where it's concave towards the front, or this? I would normally have thought that this would be the front, but I'm thinking for like adding some depth and also some territories for the puffers, I think I'm gonna use this side. I can change it later if I want, but I'm really kind of feeling like that could add some elements of like territory. They're very territorial fish, and give them that. There's a little hole. I mean, there's just so much. These are some points where I've put the air plants that I used to have, and I'm also thinking of just adding some more plants to those spaces. Maybe keeping more of the planting area open for them, but of course that's going to change as I start to do my designs. So I'm going to go ahead and place this in the tank, and then that way I can pour my substrate around it and kind of get a feel of like where I would want to have some plants in the future. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna put this substrate around on these corners mostly. My other dilemma is, do I put a backing? And I don't know. And I may regret that after, but I think you can find like a cling that you can put on here and just darken it. But I am gonna have some wire covers to cover all this ugly wire, and we'll see if that does the trick. But I think once everything's said and done, that it's gonna be really nice and cohesive. I don't want to put a black backing on this and not on that smaller tank here. So we're gonna live and learn, because I hadn't really planned for that. And like I said, I have like a black wire cover to sort of make this neater and disappear. I think as long as you make things clean and streamlined, that they don't show up as ugly anymore, it's like very intentional. So that's my goal. So I am gonna start adding this soil. I'm gonna go up high in the back, because again, when you do those kind of things, when you make the substrate higher in the back, it gives you that feeling of depth, perception of depth. It makes the tank seem larger than what it is. And up here, I just sort of want it to be more gravel in the front. This is a really neat little tool holder. It's just a magnetic cutting, like a board that you would use in your kitchen. And it's really nice. It's portable. All of my tools stick to it. Super easy. And I actually got this idea from Emscaping. I thought it looked really nice and streamlined. So yeah, this is beautiful. I love it. And it's been very handy. So I am going to use this. So this tool allows you to kind of move around your soil and bring things down, maybe just a smidge. Kind of let it fall into place. But I'm going to try to come across, make this piece of wood look like it's been there for a while. Like it's maybe just like a piece of dead tree or something in a natural stream kind of look. So the more you can kind of cover the base of your main focal point, whether it be a rock or a piece of wood like this, the more natural it's going to look, because that's how it would look in nature. Things would kind of gather along the bottom. So whenever you put your pieces in, your main focal points, try to just gather up and push some of that soil in place. A lot of it's going to just fall into place naturally, but just give it a little nudge, little encouragement. Bring it up a little. I don't want everything to be flat, so definitely trying to bring some of those corners up and around. And these just pop right back on there. All right, I think we're ready to go ahead and add our actual top covering, although some people will use just this black substrate as their gravel and their cover. I kind of wanted to keep things a little lighter because that's what I want to do. So yeah, and then it'll sort of tie in to this tank where, again, I guess I like that look. I have the black substrate coming up here in the back. This is supposed to replicate a little lagoon kind of pool, notably Hamilton Pool here in Austin. That's kind of what I was going for. This is all my native limestones right out of my yard. And maybe I'll take a few little limestones and kind of trickle them in maybe this quadrant of the tank to sort of make it look like it's all one piece. But those are all things I'll do later on to kind of fine tune things. But overall, I kind of want like the forefront of this tank to be more limestone type gravel, even though some of this black substrate's kind of sneaking around. I'll get that cleaned up and then make that lighter area, the sandy and lighter gravel, kind of blend in seamlessly into this tank and just kind of trick the eye and make it seem like two different, well, I guess I should say, make it look like one unit. That's what I'm trying to achieve. Okay, so again, this is the UN Systems Contrasand, and this is normal Monterey. substrate. I chose this one because I like that it has a little bit of black in it. And I have a lot of black in my house. And also, I just really like all the different colors. It kind of blends nicely with the limestone because there's some lighter pieces. And I just think that this all works very cohesively with everything that I'm planning to do. So I'm trying to figure out the easiest way to do this. So I'm gonna just start drizzling this in, trying to cover that back area. I'm not sure that this cup is the best way to do it, but it'll just take a little more time, give me a little bit more control of what I'm doing. And like I said, this is the first time I'm setting up a tank like this. And probably like you, a lot of what I've learned is on YouTube, but I do happen to have kind of the ideal situation where I have a tiny aquatics fish store that really specializes in all this, like literally 3 minutes away from my house. So I would say that I'm very lucky to have them so close by. Very lucky. Like, what are the odds that I would love such a hobby and then there's an aquatic store that specializes in my hobby down the street. So I don't know if you can really see how, you know, once you get the soil and the substrate in, wow, it just makes such a beautiful difference. And I do actually love that I put this piece of wood in first. I think that's a really good choice. It really makes it look more like embedded into the actual substrate, and I like that look. And now I have these areas in the back to go ahead and plant up. And I think I'm gonna keep this area pretty clear. It brightens the tank up a lot. So overall, this is how it's coming out. And I think that I'm ready to put in some water and let that cycle. As well as later on, I'm gonna put some plants because I don't have what I need and I don't know exactly what I want. And I'm actually okay with it being a little sparse for now until I find the right plants and decide how I'm gonna plant this guy up.